Guys, Mike here with you, giving you an update on what I've been working on. That right there, and I'm out here all by myself, minus Cody. Hey, what are you doing? All right. So, anyways, what I'm working on here is a 2002 or 1 Polaris. I'm sorry, not Polaris. It's a Victory. It's a Polaris motor. I keep wanting to call them Polaris. Is pretty much a Polaris anyway. Besides the point, so I have fabricated saddlebags. They're not OEM Harley parts, just so y'all know. They look a little different, a little weird. These are some kind of Chinese knockoff a customer wants. This is not a OEM road street glide fairing. It is not an OEM street glide fairing, so it is not 100% like true. It's off. The molding must be like one of those Chinese moldings. I'm not sure where they came from. Now the crash bars, those are OEM. I cut for the lower front fairings, which I do have. So if anybody out there is trying to do this to a Victory, these actually worked out pretty good. So this is a Harley crash bar. Cut them pretty much in half. There's a middle tab that bolts to the Harley up here in the middle, which obviously I can't do because there's an oil cooler. So there's a middle tab in here. I cut it right around in there somewhere in half. Now the bolt for the bracket for the footrest worked out perfect. Came up, and then I was able to make myself a spacer. Use the bolt for the frame. Got me a longer bolt, a shank bolt, and use the nut on the backside because it's a locking nut. And just extended this out here to where they sit right. Bam. And welded it. Welded it up here. Welded it all around here. Now I did taper. I tried to taper this the best I could, almost kind of like a coping, or a what do you do, like a fish mouth, bird mouth, whatever. Just try to. I did it with a what do you call it? A grinder. Now this had a little quarter fairing, just a little windshield. I used the mounting brackets for this, and I welded. Now these look like OEM Harley mounts, so put me a little flat bar here, welded it onto there, welded it down here. So there was some extra I cut off down there. Those stuck down a little bit further, which obviously when you're trying to fit something that doesn't fit on here, you gotta improvise. So I welded it. It's solid as can be. This isn't a very heavy fairing, so I'm not worried about it. So what's nice is it's removable. Same on this side. I put some pretty heavy little beads down here. I put as heavy as I can. I might go back and fill this in. There's a pretty good gap there. And don't mind my welds. I like to think I'm a good welder, but it's a MIG weld. I do have my MIG welder set up, so I'm kind of getting used to running MIG again because I had the flux core. So it's a little bit different. But I mean, it's not horrible. I mean, they don't look pretty, and it's a little windy out here, but it started off fairly decent. I don't know, I think that's where my tack was. But it's not the worst. It's not boogered everywhere. So all you gotta do is unbolt these. That comes off. Whole fairing's removable. The brackets, what I did was use the same flat stock. I made these, really, mittens? I made these little spacers back here to kind of hide the gap. I drilled and tapped. Cody, come here. Come here, leave the cat alone. I threaded. Come here. Cody, come here. So this bolt, there's 2 bolts. So there's my brackets. And I came off of the fender bolts. There's one there and there. And so I came off, met up with the brackets that came with the actual bags themselves. But that's pretty much all this is. I just put it on there, cut it out. It's sheet metal. It's a fairly thick piece of sheet metal. And I'm going to run a support at the bottom. I'm going to have to try and figure out how I can make this removable still. I want to weld a nut on the backside so it can screw in from the backside and hold this in place. But like I said, I drilled a hole and tapped it, so this is hard to do one-handed. I always laugh at everybody on YouTube when they go, man, this is hard to do one-handed when I'm watching their videos. There we go. So he wants me to, I took off the OEM blinkers. He wants me to mount them up in here somewhere, kind of like, I don't know, sitting up. Oh, and then the other thing I did just a little bit ago was he removed the back seat. Doesn't want the back seat no more. So in order for the seat to really lock down properly, I made this plate. Pretty simple. I took that gap that's right there and I laid it inside. Took my piece of metal, laid it inside here, and I traced it. And I went a little bit bigger. So that little tab right there will slide up underneath that plate. It's tight, which is good. But you got to work it up under there. And again, one hand is not easy. So that's it. The lower front fairings doesn't look too shabby. Now that fairing's not 100%, so in case all y'all wondering why it kind of has this weird lean to it, it's because of the speedo. Plus it looks goofy altogether just for the fact that it sticks way out past the handlebars. But this is not a street glide, this is a Victory. So in order to kind of be able to see your speedo, I had to kind of cock it forward just a little bit off of its typical axis. Hopefully it's not too windy out here for y'all to hear me. So you can still read as you're driving down the highway. So this is pretty much your view. So you'll still be able to read it. Cuts it off a little bit. But like I was going to say, oh yeah, and he bought this, oh, it's a 21-inch rim. And I had to make an extra shim. I had him buy another spacer kit, and I had to cut the spacer down because this freaking rotor was rubbing on the caliper. It was shoving it too far that way, so I had to shim it. No, it was too far this way, so I shimmed it here to push it that direction. So now she's sitting perfect. And there's the lower fairings. Your typical lower fairings that go on the front of a bike or a Harley. I believe this one's this side. Yeah. So that'll block a lot of air. That'll block a lot of air right there. Of course, there's a cover that goes over that kind of locks it in place. So anywho, got that truck Saturday. I've had that Camaro, 82 Camaro, for a while. I'm gonna do another video, give you an update on that. I meant to put that up a while back, sorry. Not that I have a whole lot of viewers right now, but maybe this will catch on and become the next YouTube sensation on the LS swaps, because that's what the Yukon is gonna do. Alright, I don't want to get any too further because I won't make another video on that one. So anyways, Yukon was pretty cool. I'll explain all that in the next video. So anyways, guys, like and subscribe. If you have any questions, please comment below. And definitely, if you have any questions,